Hey, chat. Wow. It's finally here.
Hello. Yes, finally time to do Zur Scale things.
The rumors are true.
Yes, the rumors are true. We do have this whole big scale to talk about. And a place to talk about now. I don't know if you noticed, I did throw in a new chat for Zur Scale.
In the Discord?
Hmm?
Wow. Look at you go.
Yes. So we have a spot for people to actually discuss that. I need to actually post the link to Zur Scale there and pin it, which I can do very quickly.
Look at you go.
There you go.
Kind of letting people get in here.
Mm-hmm. Let's get it started in just a moment. Hello, chat. How are y'all doing? Oh, did we not put the actual scale in the video description? We need to do that.
You can do that, or I'll do it later. It's not that big a deal. We hadn't,
Hello, 3-player politics. Yes. Things should be unmuted. We should be ready to go.
Yeah, we know we were unmuted. Don't worry.
Lady Orca?
I wish.
Andy? Just be aware, she's still hipster, okay? She is still hipster. She's like a 1. Alright, Matt. Ready?
Alright, I've already got us swapped over. Jason, would you like to begin the introduction?
Yes. Hello everyone, welcome to the Zur Scale. This is a project we have been working on for over a year. This is functionally a massive tier list, but I'm going to break it down and exactly how this works. So this is a project for rating the inherent power level of every commander for casual multiplayer EDH. The scale is from 0 to 10, and there's also an extra rating for banned cards because banned are banned. The scale is named after Zur the Enchanter, who's a popular enchantments commander you'll find in a variety of playstyles and power levels, and often shapes a meta around it, usually unintentionally. So, we have 2 scales here. One is for the average normal deck, and then we have one for optimized. These 2 scales are needed to show the difference between a normal and a fine-tuned deck, and the assumption that is made for the scale is that decks are played in a normal 4-player multiplayer game of Commander. You are trying to build around your commander, and you are trying to win. Oh, also, there's no metagame that's been established around your commander. All of these are very important, and also, we are excluding cEDH from this for the most part because of how cEDH functions. The commander is not as important in a lot of cEDH decks, and there's also a metagame that has been established for cEDH, so that kind of just goes against the nature of the assumptions for how the scale works. So cEDH is not considered for the most part, however, it does affect casual builds occasionally, so we will let you know when it does affect something. It should be in the notes. So, let's just jump into the scale. Matt, you want to read some?
Alright. Like, the actual explanation of numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just start off with what everybody actually cares about. 10? So, decks are just kind of turbodome broken. They do essentially everything that can be built in about 95 different ways and still be successful, even including the 70 lands plus choice cards.
Yeah. These commanders are extremely strong. Yes, we'll go ahead and tell you now, Zur is a 10 on the scale currently. The scale is named after Zur because of how it impacts games where you're able to do things like play a single enchantment in your deck and build the entire deck around that, which is kind of how the cEDH Shimmer Zur deck works. You can also do things, just have an incredible wide range toolbox for controlling your opponents or Voltron strategies or whatever, right? There's just a million different ways you can build Zur the Enchanter. And all of them are quite potent at different power levels. So, that's why we wanted to talk about that. Now, I will say that Zur is not the strongest commander. There are other 10s that beat out Zur.
Quite a few.
Yeah, like currently, our two that we go to as like being the most broken 10s are Najeela and Korvold. And that's just because you can't build those commanders and not have them do something broken. So long as you are building around your commander, which is a base assumption of this scale, your commander is just too powerful for a lot of tables, and it just snowballs too easily. Yep. But going down the rankings, so obviously 10s are turbo dumb, right? 9s are really, really powerful. Like, they're very supported in what they're trying to do, but it may not always be broken, but it's extremely powerful. Usually have a wide variety of ways to play and are very successful. 8s don't need to do much to steamroll. This is a pretty common place where 2-card combos will start being introduced. And then we got to look at, like, okay, how's your commander supporting these incredibly powerful effects? Or if that powerful effect is still something that your commander wants to do. 7s, they're impactful. They're very good. They hold their own. Everything's a 7, obviously. Mm-hmm. But usually the commander needs to be answered twice. Yes, Brushwag would be a 0. It's not good.
Now the almighty Brushwag, that's a 1.
Oh, that's got a pump on it. Oh, my goodness. Spend 4 mana to make it bigger. Right. 6s, and going down this, they just get progressively worse, right? 6s can easily impact the board, but they require some setup. 5s are pretty bread and butter average. They got some flexibility in their builds. They may not make much of an impact on their own, but they're still able to do something that is noteworthy. 4s, So, it's somewhat impactful immediately, and it can be great with a little bit of setup. 3s, you're doing something that's a little tough for your colors to do. You just don't have the support for what you're trying to do, or the commander isn't that powerful, even if the support is there. 2s, you need very specific conditions to have things function and go your way. 1s, next to nothing is happening here. Like, you can't do anything. And 0 here, 0s are either they don't have enough to actually be considered something to build around, or they actively hurt you. And that's going to be important because we will show you some 0s here, and some of the 0s may take a little thought and explanation as to why it works, or why it is a 0. And then one other thing is some cards are banned. Like, we didn't do a rating for them. Honestly, a lot of the banned commanders aren't actually like 10s, but
the only one that like notably comes to mind is Leovold, but
yeah, Leovold would be the easy 10, debatably the strongest commander in the format if it was unbanned. But beyond that, like, Griselbrand wouldn't be a 10 as a commander, but it would be a 10 out of 10 card in the 99. Similarly, Emrakul, not a ban-worthy commander, but a ban-worthy card in the 99. So, with that out of the way, let's just jump over to the white section really quickly.
Alright, I got you.
And we're just going to take a quick look at some of the commanders that are 0s, 5s, and 10, or, well, there's no 10 in mono white, but we'll give you an idea as to what to work with. An easy example of a 0 would be the Myojin cycle. Mackie?
Yes, I am currently about to pull them up. And
Thank you.
Here they come on Scryfall, just so everybody can see.
Yeah, so Myojin of Blooming Dawn here, it enters a battle, it's an 8 mana 4/6, and when it enters a battlefield, it has an indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand, and you have to remove the indestructible counter to create a 1/1 colorless spirit token for each permanent you control. Getting an indestructible counter on this thing is so extraordinarily difficult to do that it just fundamentally isn't even worth trying to do. Especially because, like, the reward is actually pretty good, right? 8 mana, make a 1/1 for each permanent you control. Yeah, that's great. like that's fantastic.
It's just
You're
you
gonna
get to do
land.
this once, and it costs 8 mana and mono white, which is almost impossible.
To do that, and not only is it 8 mana and mono white, you have to cast it from your hand to do it, because there's very few ways to get an indestructible counter onto a permanent otherwise. So there's only really one way of getting a Myojin into your hand, and that's with Command Beacon.
1 out of
So-
99 and no ability to tutor individual lands.
Yep. So giving you this example so that you're aware of what sort of things would make something a 0. Because a Myojin is a pretty impactful spell, but not with how it functions in Commander. Additionally, at this time, I would like people to start, if you do not... I did put the link in our social media stuff for today. We don't have it here right now. I don't know if I can post the link, actually. Let's see what happens if I do that. There you go. Alright, so the link itself has been posted. If you would like us to discuss a commander and where it rates and why we have rated it in such a way, start dropping those names now. We will go and get to them eventually, once we get done with introducing why a couple of commanders are at their current ratings. So moving on, let's grab a 5.
Oh, Mangara the Diplomat. Looks like right.
Mangara the Diplomat's a 5? Yeah, okay, that's a fine one. So, Mangara the Diplomat's... It is a 4 mana 2/4 human cleric with lifelink whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures. Or attacks with creatures if 2 or more of those are attacking you or a planeswalker you control, you draw a card, and whenever an opponent casts their second spell, each turn you draw a card. Right, that's just card draw. Which is fine.
It's fine.
In mono white in particular, where you do suffer from a lack of card draw, you can actually see a pretty good benefit for having Mangara as your commander. The thing is, how you force that to happen is the hard thing. Because, how are you getting Mangara, or how are you forcing your opponents to attack you, or forcing them to cast the extra spells? Are you giving them additional resources to make that happen? In which case, that's pretty negative. If you're just relying on your opponents attacking you and you getting 1 to 2 extra cards every turn cycle, because after a while they'll stop attacking you and they'll just swing with 1 big creature or something like that, right? Mangara loses a lot of its impact then, because it's pretty easy to play around. And because you can't force your opponent to do these things, as we mentioned in the ratings, we have normal, optimized, support, flexibility, and power. We have this as a 5 for normal, 5 for optimized, 3 for the support, 5 for flexibility, and 5 for power, because you just can't really force your opponents to attack you in a meaningful way. You have to rely on your own diplomatic skills to really take advantage of Mangara, which is not something that everyone's going to be able to do.
That being said, if you sit down at a regular mid-power pod, this deck's probably going to be fine, right? It's not going to be absolutely bonkers. It's just going to be okay.
The average game is still mostly creature-based. People will come in and try to attack you. People will want to, cast 2 spells a turn because they're doing card advantage things, and that's helpful. The question is, are you overpowering the green player who's going to be playing into you? Probably not. But that doesn't mean you can't compete. So, it's not bad. Then, let's get off of mono white. Let's talk about another, 10 on the scale. Because that's the extremes are fun.
You wanted to say the namesake card for the 10?
Oh, we've already kind of explained that one, but...
Yeah, that's true.
Let's in mono blue, the only 10 that's there is Urza, Lord High Artificer. So let's pull up that one.
Yep.
So, Urza, and as our wonderful notes section implies, this card has too much text.
Yeah, it does both nothing and everything at the same time.
So, 4 mana 1/4 human artificer. When it ETBs, make a 0/0 construct that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. the most important ability, tap an untapped artifact you control to add blue, and then 5 mana shuffle your library, exile a top card, and you would play that card without paying its mana cost. So
if it just had the first 2 blocks of text, it would already be probably like an 8 on this scale. The fact that it has the infinite mana sink to win the game in an artifact deck, it's not got a color restriction or anything, just makes this card absurdly turbo broken.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just do any sort of colorless mana combo, and Urza, Lord High Artificer, it's going to take over games very easily. And importantly, one of the things we talk about again is how cEDH affects things. And Urza, while it is a pretty well-known cEDH commander, it's not the most potent cEDH commander, but the important things about it is that a lot of what it does is cEDH. And the thing is, even if you're building the deck more casually, if you go over into its actual page, you see that 80% of the decks are running Dramatic Reversal, which is just for infinite mana combos. You've got Hullbreaker Horror in 60% of the decks. Most Urza decks are, unless you're cEDH, you're probably not running Hullbreaker Horror. Hullbreaker Horror is there for very specific combo purposes. Playing back to basics in 45% of the decks. You don't see back to basics in casual Commander particularly often. So to see it here, it's really important to understand that most of what Urza is doing is cEDH oriented, so we have to talk about it in that regard.
Yep.
And so if you run into Urza, you're probably running into a cEDH build of Urza, if someone just casually brings out an Urza deck. Otherwise, they're still going to go onto EDH Rec, or at least a lot of people will, right? And they'll grab new cards from the sets, and they'll grab things that are recommended from the high synergy list, and suddenly now they have near cEDH level cards, or at cEDH level cards in their deck, even if they didn't intend to play at that power level, because they're just trying it out. So that's why we wanted to talk about, or in particular I want to talk about Urza, not only because it's a 10, but also because this is where we have to start talking about cEDH and how it affects the scale. So, yeah, for everyone here, what do you guys want us to talk about? In the meantime, the other thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be discussing some of the new commanders, because I've been working on the Zur Scale. Like, we've been working on hard on this thing, but when Wizards of the Coast gives us a new set and it has 121 commanders in it, it takes us a long time to get through it.
As it turns out, 120 whatever commanders is kind of a lot.
121, it's way too many. So we're going to be working on it, and we're going to just be live evaluating some of these commanders. If people would like us to talk about specific ones, please let us know. But in the meantime, we're going to just jump straight into the Azorius section. And where do we want to start?
Boromir.
Oh, it's Boromir? What does this Boromir do?
That's an excellent question.
Oh, this is the humans one. Humans and artifacts one.
Yes.
Yes, you are allowed to request the ratings if it's something we haven't already rated, absolutely. But if it's something that we have already rated, we'll just explain our thought process as to why on that one. But thank you for asking. So this Boromir is actually pretty good.
Yeah, this is actually solid, especially since you're in the best flicker colors. Yeah,
being able to do this with both attacking and entering the battlefield. If it was just getting you humans, if it was just getting humans, it would be solid. But it's getting you humans and artifacts, so you can put a really high concentration in this deck. Also, warrior not the most relevant card type in these two colors, but
humans
that's not
for
bad.
Sure is absolutely an extremely relevant card type in these colors.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, click on the EDH rec though. This is what happens when you introduce too many commanders, by the way.
Oh boy, card analysis on EDH rec.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. 23 whole decks.
Yeah, this is a good commander. Love to hear the reasoning for Obnixilis Captive Kingpin. All right, we will get to that one momentarily. Let's get through Boromir real quick, and we'll jump over to Obnixilis. So looking at it, obviously we got a whole lot of legendary creatures that are from the new set. So, a lot of humans that they're just from the newest sets, and that makes sense. Looks like people are going really heavy on the human side of things, which I don't know if humans is better than artifacts in this case, because artifacts would allow you to dig towards things like Conjurer's Closet, which, are they playing Conjurer's Closet?
I don't think that they are.
17%.
Yeah.
That's not the worst, but that's also not most. Faramir, Steward of Gondor? Absolutely. We'll get to that one in a minute. They got some equipment, they got some good punchies. You can play some tempo elements. I think it's probably a little bit better if you lean into the artifact side of things, just because they're probably a little bit better and you just have to play the best humans at that point. That said,
I think humans on its own is like almost just kind of good enough.
I think it gets itself up to being pretty much an average deck just on this card advantage ability.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is a little sad that Boromir's not offering more, but at the same time,
he does just say when he enters, draw a human artifact.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be honest here, you're not whiffing that much on the top 6.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of enough here that would really immediately make me say that the optimized rating is much better than the normal rating, because again, I don't know how good the artifact deck actually is by comparison. We don't have data to back it. But I'm pretty ready to call that a 5-5. Chad, if you guys disagree with me, let me know. But Matt, what do you think?
I'm thinking a 5, probably a 5-6, because I think the faster that you can power this thing out, and obviously as you get more optimized, it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
So, like, you're less likely to whiff. You're gonna have this thing out earlier. You're gonna be flickering it easier. So
yeah, I'm pretty ready to mark that down for the time being. In terms of support, I would go ahead and just give it a 10. Hey, Munkle Monster, how's it going? So partner pairings have a little bit of a weird ranking. Partners, we do rank the partners, but we don't rank the individual pairings, because there is 1,800 unique commanders in the game. And if you add in all of the partner pairings, that number jumps up to almost 6,000. There's no way we could evaluate every single partner pairing, and most of them aren't worth doing because a lot of commanders don't want to be played together. So what we do is we just baseline rate the partner, say we bump it up a little bit, making the statement of, okay, because it's paired with something else, it is a little bit better than what's showing here. But at the same time, it only gets better from there. Like, we have Timna on there as an 8 right now, and the understanding is just, you pair Timna with anything, the deck's probably baseline 8, and it only gets better from there. I'd actually go ahead and say the support's a 10, honestly. 9 or 10.
Say the support's a 9 or a 10.
Yeah, because, like, you want to play humans? Absolutely. You're playing white for humans.
That's true.
Oh, we had a BRB screen? Oops.
Yeah, I forgot my numpad, is I don't have my stream deck set up right now.
Mm-hmm. True. Partner with gets paired together, because there's no real reason for us to evaluate the individual commander on its own, so might as well just do it with its partner. So if you see Braylon and Shabraz has its own ranking, but Shabraz does not have one ranking and Braylon has another. Partner with has to be partnered together. But yeah, I'd go 9 at the baseline for Boromir, maybe an argument for 10 on the support, because you do get this just artifact flickery stuff.
That's true.
It doesn't. Well, yeah, I mean, blue humans do have good ETBs.
Some of them, but there's not a whole bunch that do.
Oh, I just thought of something. This is not a bad Ghostly Flicker deck, and you can just play Narumeha Ghostly Flicker combos to find every creature you need, and if there's something with Flash to intervene with to win the game, that would just work.
That's true.
So there may be something with Narumeha combos that's not being explored here, which definitely makes me feel more comfortable giving it that 6 optimized. There's something to explore there that I think's good.
Yeah.
Boromir's power. Probably just a 5.
Probably just a 5.
Yeah. It's good. I don't really have any notes on this one for the time being. Do you have anything else you want to say on that, Matt?
Not a whole bunch.
Okay. Then let's go jump over to Omnixilis.
Rakdos, the captive kingpin.
Yes. All right. So, Omnixilis captive kingpin.
9, 9, 10, 3, 10.
Right. So that's a 9 for the normal ranking, 9 for the optimized, 10 for the support, 3 for the flexibility, and 10 for the power. So the fact with Omnixilis, and keep in mind, we exclude a lot of cEDH data from this, and that is Omnixilis is a well-known cEDH commander at this point. So that does skew our ratings a little bit. However, you don't have to build the deck the style that cEDH does, although it's pretty damn close, which is why.
Also, I will say that this was rated like shortly after Aftermath came out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
cEDH hadn't explored this card yet.
Only a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had seen a couple of small attempts at it, but nobody had really established. It wasn't winning tournaments or putting up top 8 result or top 4 results, which it's doing now. And I had the pleasure of playing against this when I was in SCGCon Baltimore, playing in that event. It was a treat to get beat in the face by this thing. This thing came down turn 1 and turn 2. It was like 10 power. It was gross. It didn't win that game because there was a Tim Najeska deck that was just faster. But this was great. So the logic behind. Usually there's not going to be too many 10s across the board. I think Najila is the only other 10 completely across the board.
I think
it might not be.
I think Korvold's a 10 across the board because you just play Jund.
I mean, that's true. You can just play efficient Jund things, and you will eventually get there. Korvold has Korvold is 10s across the board, and
Brago 10s across the board.
Is Brago 10s or do we put 9s? I mean, I think Brago is insane. So Brago is so good. So like no doubt on that. Najila is 10s across the board because you can literally play whatever the hell you want in a Najila deck, and it is good. As long as you play 5 colors of mana, you're fine. And then Brago is 10s across the board. Yeah. So I think those are our only 10s across the board. Hey, Cameron. Yeah. Brago's really good because of part of it is just how efficient the commander is. And again, casual commander, not cEDH specifically. It's a little hard to interact with Brago because of how it wants to play these long games. And if it just hits once, like from that point, the game is pretty much won in the Brago's favor the second it gets a hit in. It's just going to take 10 turns to get to that point.
Yeah. Back to Omnixilis though.
Yeah, back to Ob though. God, we love Ob. Ob is such a great villain, and I'm sad that he's no longer a planeswalker. But that said, we get a legendary creature Omnixilis, and that's awesome. Yeah, Omnixilis in casual does have some awkward things about it. Like, we don't really want to play Spewer that much. Just saying.
Yeah. We still want to have all the infinite combos in there, though.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, like Pestilence, not a great card. Underworld Dreams, not great. But most of the people who are playing this as a Punisher deck, which is fine. If anything, it would actually pull my rating down from a 9 when you're playing against specifically Punisher Omnixilis. But some of those Punisher cards, like Mana Barbs in particular, ooh.
Yeah.
Teferi Temporal Archmage. We'll take a look at that one. We got to get somebody else requested Faramir Steward of Gondor first, so we'll take a look at that one later, Munkle Monster. Yeah, like Matt, do you have anything you want to add on that? Because like,
no, card is just good. Also, it's an 8 card advantage.
Yeah, I love its interaction with Prosper.
Yes.
Like putting those two in the same deck, that's a really fun interaction. And Prosper's also a 9 on our scale as well. We basically copied a lot of the information over, except for the flexibility on Ob Nixilis is lower than Prosper.
Yeah.
Prosper is just so efficient at playing mid-range. Like, it's so unassuming, and then it just kills you with these big combos that you wouldn't expect it to do.
Yeah, if it tells you anything, Nixilis is a 3 on the flexibility, Prosper is an 8. Prosper can just play almost every Rakdos card to pretty okay efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can do almost anything you want to do with Prosper because it is just a self-contained engine. And that's very powerful. So let's jump on over to Faramir here. Steward of Gondor. Next one was going to be Prince, but we're going to do...
What colors? I am sorry.
This is an Azorius.
Ah.
So this is the second Azorius Faramir.
So many Faramirs.
Indeed. Alright, so 3 mana 2/2 human noble. Whenever a legendary creature with mana value 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you become the monarch, and at your end step, if you are the monarch, you get 2 soldiers. That's fine.
It's okay. I mean...
It's a little risky, but you do just play large legendary creatures, and you become the monarch again.
I think I'm feeling a solid, 4 on this, slightly below average.
Yeah, that's my immediate inclination as well. It's so risky whenever you introduce the monarch into a game because of how hard it is to control the monarchy.
Yeah, and especially because you have to have the monarch for this card to do anything.
Yes, and it's worth noting that this it also makes you 2/2 human soldiers that no keywords, no flying on this. Yep. If it had flying, I would be much more interested. 2 birds would be real good.
Yeah, but just 2 1/1s. Eh.
That said, being 3 mana, really, really good.
Yes.
Let's see, there's only 54 decks on EDH Rec, and most of them are, monarchy, political voting, stuff like that.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. It's the support is what's killing me here, because, I actually think the card on its own is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's I need to play all of these other monarchy cards to make this good.
Or I have to play stuff that's 4 mana value or greater every single turn. Because let's face it, if somebody's got a 1/1 flyer, well, now your monarchy's shut off for the entire game.
Yeah, and you have to play this big defensive shell.
Yeah.
To protect your monarchy, and the reward is just 2/2s or 2 1/1s, I should say, which is not the worst thing. We did talk about the Boromir, that Azorius Boromir being quite good because of it's just getting you more creatures, right? Humans are solid in when you're playing white in particular, but blue does add something, not a ton, but it adds something. It's a lot of awkward. Yeah, I'm trying to find the justification to maybe bump it to a 5, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I can't bump it to a 5.
Yeah, there's not enough 4 mana legendaries I want to play in my deck to introduce the monarch. It's other things that are introducing the monarch.
So, I'm thinking 4/4.
Yeah, 4/4 feels pretty appropriate for me. The support is where it's going to get kicked. It's probably a 6 or 7 on the support.
Probably a 6.
Yeah, Monarch doesn't have enough support yet, and just blue and white don't have enough mana production to justify needing to pump out 4 mana value legendary creatures consistently. It does with the bounce spells, though, to make you be able to do it. Let me double check the wording just to be 100% sure, because it's when you cast, right? Oh no, it just has to enter, so you could just flicker. Well, now I'm just playing flicker. Does that change anything, really?
Not really. Because it's still monarchy. You still have to wait till you're in step.
Yeah, it looks like a couple again, only 54 decks, so not a lot of data to work with. So it's not bad though. I do enjoy this deck, and I guess I should also mention the curving on ratings. You're going to see a lot of things in the 0 to 3 ranking because there's a lot of commanders that are just inherently bad. And then 4 is where things start breaking out, and you're just kind of like, okay, I can do something with this, but I need some specific things to go right for this to work well for me.
Yep.
And Faramir just falls in that category. Flexibility, 3.
3. You have one build.
Well, you got like 3 builds, right? Where it's like, well, okay. Builds always have intermingling things, right? But we've got the flicker angle, we have the just big legendary creatures angle, and then we have the monarchy card angle. And honestly, you need parts of all 3 of those to make this work, and then it's kind of held together by just humans.
Yeah.
Controversial, maybe not actually controversial. I think the power level of Faramir itself is a 3, though. I don't think Faramir is that strong of a card in a vacuum.
No, not in a vacuum.
Even when stuff's going its way, it's not great.
Does it? It doesn't enter make you the monarch, right?
It itself does not. No.
Yeah. So
you need a 4 mana value creature.
Then innately just makes it even worse on its own.
Yep. All right. So Munkle Munster wanted us to do Teferi Temporal Archmage next. So let's take a look there.
Temporal Archmage. We've got an 8 on the normal, a 9 on the optimized, 7 support, 2 flexibility, and 8 power.
Okay, so the comment section on this one is very, very important. Because when we did this rating initially, and I'm going to double check to make sure that it is still this, but 72% of the decks were Chainveil decks, with the mana rocks to support Chainveil comboing. And I'm just going to check very quickly. It is now down to 67% of the decks are playing Chainveil, but that's still 2/3 of the decks are playing Chainveil. You see 77% are playing Thran Dynamo, 64% are playing Basalt Monolith, 62% are playing Gilded Lotus. So, yeah, we are Chainveil comboing. We're not playing this deck fairly. 55% of them playing High Tide as well. So, like, High Tide is very telling. We're doing very, very, very powerful combo things, or we're trying to, at least.
So even at a casual table, you're probably expecting like a bad cEDH deck out of this.
Yeah, you're expecting a weak cEDH deck here, or a weak cEDH level 1. Yeah, cEDH is influencing this commander to the point that normal builds are more similar to cEDH than not. As such, the rating has to be put this highly because even your casual decks are this powerful.
Yep.
Is Teferi actually that good? If I was actually going to make a change to the rating right now, because we have this as an 8-9 split, I would actually change the inherent power level of Teferi itself to a 7, and bump the support up to an 8.
That's fine. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, small shift. Still explains what's going on, because I don't think Teferi Temporal Archmage itself is that powerful, but we have found the exact interaction that is needed to make it broken. And people are on it, man.
Yeah.
Like, they are on playing Teferi Temporal Archmage.
Well, it also helps that this card has been out for a decade now. So
yeah, almost. Yeah, this was 2015 or Commander 2014, right?
Yep.
I'm old.
and it's getting a reprint, Jason.
Oh boy.
It means we're gonna see more of them.
Oh yeah, baby. Show me more Teferis. Anyway, yeah. So that's the thoughts on Teferi. Pretty much straightforward on that one. I didn't even think about. I just looked at the line that we put, the note that we put for Elminster, which is play Displacer Kitten. Displacer Kitten with Chainveil Teferi. That sounds gross.
Yeah.
That sounds super gross.
That sounds really good.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's jump in on Faramir, Prince of Ithilien. I don't know. People who actually know Tolkien stuff. I'm sorry. I was gonna say, show me how to say it, and I was like, no, don't show me how to say it. I'm just sorry.
No, we're sorry. We're not pronouncing these at all.
All right.
At the beginning of your end step, choose an opponent. At the beginning of that player's next end step, you draw a card. If they did not attack you that turn, Otherwise, you make 3 1/1 white human soldier tokens.
Oof.
Oof.
So your opponent always gets to make the choice that is best for them.
Yes.
You have to politic it. This is honestly not the worst card I've seen.
No,
Like-
it's not.
Baseline, I'm thinking 3s.
I'm big in 3s. If
Mhm.
we weren't playing a multiplayer format for evaluating this, I would say this is a
Mhm.
lot higher, because then you're always getting 3 1/1s. But
Right. And, my thought that really drew me to this is for people who have played against Elspeth.
yes,
Yeah, Elspeth Sun's Champion, playing 6-mana Planeswalker that upticks to make 3 1/1s. Being able to make 3 1/1s a turn, and one of the slight benefits of this commander, and not a great benefit, but if you're trying to play around board wipes, then you might be able to avoid some issues with someone wiping your board, and because you made them at sorcery speed, but when you make them at instant speed, it's kind of helpful. But it's very capable of playing around this. It's always going to be the worst option for you. The options are good though. At 4 mana, making 3 tokens feels better than 3 mana making 2 tokens by comparison to the other Faramir.
and also your downside is, if you don't make the tokens, you draw a card, which is great. So
Yeah. Interestingly, it seems a lot of people are taking this down the route of playing soldiers, which is not something I'd considered, because they are humans. You can just play humans as well. I do like seeing soldiers. That's cool.
soldiers are cool.
Yeah, Skull Clamp.
Don't-
Skull Clamp makes all soldiers possible.
But I don't think it affects our rating that much at all.
No, not particularly. I do really like a lot of the humans and soldier support that they've printed recently. Like, looking over here, and they've got Lossarnarch Captain, which is a 4-mana 3/1 first striker. Whenever it or another human enters the battlefield under your control, target opponent taps, or you tap a creature an opponent controls, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you make a 1/1. That thing's been pretty good for me anytime I've played it in the precon, and while I don't think it's better here, I do like it and think it's pretty neat.
I think that's just neat.
Yeah, I just think it's neat. Yeah, this does feel like a 3 to me though, because it's always going to be the worst option for you, unless your opponents just severely misevaluate the board or
So I'm
something.
thinking 3/3 support, probably like an. It has a lot going.
It's just
for
creature stuff. Like, unfortunately, the other thing is you can't force your opponent to make decisions.
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry. Look, if we're gonna try to take over an opponent's turn just to make them give us a 3/3 or to give us 3 1/1s, like, I think we're winning that game in a different way. So that's not really worth pursuing. So it's just about whether or not you want to play soldiers or humans here. It just seems like 6 or that support's probably 7 or 8. Probably a 7 because it's
Probably
not the best
7.
support. Because we just what did I just do? I thought it was there. My bad. We'll just put that at 7. Flexibility. I mean, if you're building around the commander, you really have one build and you're not flexible.
Yeah.
Like, you are playing humans and soldiers. Like, that's it. They're fundamentally the same deck.
Yep.
Just
so
a slightly different how you get your
probably
support.
like a 2 on flexibility.
I was gonna say a 1. Like, you just don't have flexibility.
That's true.
You don't even get that much flexibility in how you do, like, because soldiers don't have quite enough support, so it's not like you don't get to forego playing the best soldiers. Humans, you can forego playing some of the best humans though, so maybe that is a reason for 2.
Yep.
All right, sure, I'll give it that. Then Faramir, 3.
3.
Not a whole lot to say on that. It didn't really get much better. The support really wasn't influencing how this overall power ranking is doing.
The Wind Lord.
Oh, excellent. 1.
1.
Honestly, almost a 0, but 1.
Oh, it only reduces by 2.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I thought it reduced by 2 for every.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this is mana 4/4 flying vigilance. Other birds you control have vigilance. It tells you to play birds. This is not good.
Birds are bad in Commander.
Birds are very bad in Commander. That said,
2?
It's a 4 mana. No, it's definitely not a 2. It's a 1 or a 0. It's the question is whether or not it's a 0.
I think it's a 1.
I think for the mercy on it, I think it's a 1.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
It's not actively hurting you, unfortunately.
No, it's not, and it is giving you enough to build around.
Yeah.
Right, something to actually work towards. That said, like, this is the actual worst birds commander you could play, and for Azorius, because there's like 3 or 4 other birds commanders in Azorius. So why would we play this one? But of course, I should say that that's not fair for me to say that consistently, because one of the things we do try to avoid is, saying like, oh, well, this is just better, so you just play that, and therefore this is always worse. It's like, no, they could also just be on par with each other. One is stronger.
Yep.
Or more preferable. All right. By the way, keep questions coming. Like, we are happy to talk about your favorite commanders and why we think they're good or bad. We're here for it. But in the meantime, we'll go back to talk.
Andy, if you're still here, Lady Orc is bad. But
Did we put her at a 0 or a 1? She's a 0. Yeah, she should be a 0 because she's just that. Hey, Gutty. All right, we'll start on Pippin. If anybody has anything else, we'll jump to it once we're done with talking about Pippin. So Pippin, Guard of the Citadel, 2/2 halfling soldier.
How did I know that was coming from Gutty?
The whole feather. Yeah, we'll talk about feather in a moment. All right, vigilance, ward 1. Another creature you control gains protection of the card type in your choice until end of turn. All right, so this is just an expensive, a 2-mana Mother of Runes.
It's a 2-mana, slightly better Mother of Runes.
The card type of your choice until end of turn, not the color of your choice
Not
until
the
end of
color.
turn. That is not better. That is just different, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because, if you give your commander protection from black, or legacy player in me who's been a big D&D player for a while, Mother of Runes being able to give protection from black has this really great benefit of, you can stop the removal spell and then force them to not be able to attack you. Whereas if I say protection from creatures here, I can force my attack through. This is another situation where these are really bad commanders, our rating scale, because they are so inherently tied to the power level of cards that are not your commander.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is good, though. Like, this, to me, this is probably soldiers. And it is.
It is.
Yep. Okay. People are just playing soldiers. That lets you tempo through to get attacks in, but soldiers don't play big creatures, they go wide.
You're playing a lot of 1/1s, so that's not even good.
Yeah, it's not great. Vigilance ward 1 is kind of nice. Not too bad to throw some equipment on something like that, but not great either. Especially because it can't protect itself, it only protects other things.
Where do we put Skrelv at? Because this is basically just
pretty low.
This is basically just Skrelv plus blue, right?
Skrelv plus, I mean, that's an improvement.
Yes.
Hey, how's it going?
But it's not that much of an improvement, right? So for reference, we have Skrelv at a 2.
Yeah, that's...
So... Yeah, 2.
Yeah, 2 or 3. It's rough here.
I think it's a 2. I just don't think it does enough.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just... That's so little because of how you want to build it. It's just about building other big things, at which point, you can play big creatures and big impactful creatures, and you don't need to dedicate your commander to protecting them.
We're also kind of playing the wrong colors for big impactful things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Goody, you can use the ability, but Pippin cannot target itself.
Yes.
It has to be another creature you control gains that protection. And that's the problem. Because, if Pippin could at least Pippin could better use its vigilance if it was protecting itself.
Yeah, because then you could always just say creatures.
Mm.
Get your damage in, and this would just be a pretty decent Voltron deck, right?
Right, and you could just... I will say blue does give you access to untap things. I also think it's really bad that Skrell... Skrell functionally gives protection, but Skrell also costs life, and it itself is just a 1/1 that can't block, which is one of the huge weaknesses of Mother of Runes. But this one also... Or one of the big strengths Mother of Runes can do is also block and protect itself to just fog damage. Pippin can't do that either, though, so... Yeah. I'm gonna give it support a 7. Just because, like, yeah, soldiers, it's there. Untapped stuff, it's there. Just because it's there doesn't mean it's good, though. It has flexibility, but it's just so weak. Like, you can play some big... Like, if you want to play, like, Sphinxes with Pippin and just, like, oh, yeah, I have my big impactful speeches. Like, you could do...
Or a 3?
For the flexibility, no, it's higher, but... The power level's a 2, but... The flexibility is, like... Just... I don't know, 4 or 5, because it's all the power of Pippin is around the other cards in your deck.
That's true. Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. Alright, so Gutty wants Feather.
Because, of course, Gutty wants Feather.
So, let's take a look at Feather. Boros section here.
Yep. Gotta find her here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Winota! Oh, wait a minute.
Where do we have Winota at again? 10s? Yeah.
Should be a 10, yeah.
10s with a little low flexibility? Yeah, that sounds about right. Alright. Feather Redeemed.
4. Get wrecked, Gutty.
4.
Get out of here.
4 normal, 4 optimized, 9 on the support, 2 on the flexibility, 4. Vehicles are bad. Yes, they are. Don't you dare make me do this argument. So here's the thing about Feather. Feather is a very frustrating deck to play against, but it is actually not like that powerful because it just falls apart so easily. The deck just straight up does not function without Feather in play. It needs so much mana, and the fact that Feather cost, what is it again? Yeah, it costs red, white, white.
Yeah.
You realistically never want to cast Feather on turn 3. You want to cast it on turn 4 where you have a protection spell. And you need multiple protection spells to deal with your opponents who will take the opportunity to kill Feather. Mm-hmm. So realistically, you need red, white, white, white in play the turn that you cast Feather. Which is hard to do.
It's very difficult to do.
Gutty, the number of times I've played against you and you've been stuck with like 2 red and a white in play and just can't do anything with Feather, like... It really influences how I view this rating. And I will say, I made this rating before those games happened.
Yeah.
So, and if you can't protect her, you're just out of the game. Lord and Savior Captain Rex Nebula? Well, we'll get to him in a second. But yeah, like, it is impressive, just the sheer number of cards you can draw with Feather, though.
That is impressive. A lot of people are going to say that Feather's one of the better Boros commanders, but the deck just really falls apart without Feather.
I mean, while we're still on Boros and, talking about Gutty's decks, Cole the Forge Master, for example, like, we have that as an 8 because, well, one, it's the cEDH builds. Most people are playing cEDH Cole. The stuff I own decks would be lower than an 8, but at the same time, Cole the Forge Master is an extremely potent combo commander if you're playing in casual. Once you get to cEDH, it's a little bit less good because of just how... Or it's much less good because of how easy it is to interact with Cole. But... Yeah. She really needs to get that ball rolling. Once she does get that ball rolling, though, Feather is really hard to stop. But you also can just straight up die to Feather. And similarly, Feather can just die to the things that are in play while you're trying to protect her. Your opponents just opt into developing their board, and oops, what are you gonna do?
I feel like Feather is the noob stomper deck. It's like if they don't know what Feather does, you're going to lose. But that is very true. Exactly what Feather does, she just doesn't do enough.
All right, old Captain Rex Nebula.
I love this card.
This card has too much text, but I do love it too.
This is
All
a
right, 3 minutes.
4 on the normal, a 5 optimized, an 8
Mhm.
on the support, 3 on the flexibility, and a 5 on the power.
Yes. And to explain what it does, it's just being a 3-minute 2/2, so it's going to come down and do its effects pretty quickly. Basically, what it does to combat on your turn, it turns one of your non-land permanents into a vehicle, and Rex can immediately crew it. And then it gains the crash landing ability, so whenever the vehicle deals damage, you roll a 6-sided dice, and the result is equal to that vehicle's mana value. You sacrifice the vehicle, and it does that much damage to any target.
Mm-hmm.
The big issue there is rolling dice is not easy. Like, it's hard to really control the outcome to get what you want out of it. You just kind of got to luck into it. That said, turning random artifacts you control into creatures to sacrifice them is really good.
Yes.
And having this built-in sacrifice outlet made Rex pretty solid, actually. I do put it as a 4. We may a 4/5. It may actually be overvaluing it a little bit here, because I don't think it's just so difficult to consistently get the outcome you want. But that said, you just have to turn anything into a creature that you want to sacrifice, and then sacrifice it.
Yeah. And it's extra funny when it's some big enchantment like City on Fire.
Absolutely. When you drop City on Fire on people and you just go, yeah, no, I'm gonna make a whole bunch of City on Fires.
Mm-hmm.
Get them. Very fun deck. Love whenever I see it being played. It's just a fantastic time. Very hard to get the outcome you want. Oh, I just also noticed that the 2 cards that do support rolling dice,
Pro
to break the dice. Honestly, not even joking, I wouldn't be against playing against a game with Rex Nebula where the opponent just says, I'm just going to sacrifice it every time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get this outcome every single time, and I don't think that's broken.
No.
I still think that's above average now.
Mm-hmm.
But we're like getting to the 6 range at that point. So, good old Rex Nebula. Yeah. Everyone keep them coming. We'll talk about more of them as we keep going, but let's jump back over to our Azorius while we wait for some more people to give some stuff to talk about. Because we have Prince Imrahil the Fair. Kellen, I will play against you if you want to do that sometime. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's...
You can turbocharge your commander, and I will play a game against it.
It is okay.
It is certainly good at that point.
Yeah.
All right. Prince Imrahil the Fair. You draw your second card, you make a 1/1.
This is pretty fair.
Boy, talk about fair to the point of being 1 or a 2.
Yep.
Honestly, this is probably so little to build around that this is a 1.
Yeah.
Let me take a quick look at its EDH rec and see how
If
there's anything.
Is the top of your line, what are the dead center commanders?
The dead center commanders are those that are in the 5 to 6 range. There's a lot of them. So like, I'm not going to give a specific example of a lot of them, but one of the ones that we had at 5 is Faldorn. That's the precon commander. That's a 3-mana 3/3. Whenever you play or cast something from exile, you get a 2/2, and you can discard something to exile the top card of your deck, right?
Pay 1, discard a card, and then exile the top of your own deck.
Yeah, and she has to tap in the process to do that. You know, she generates 2/2 wolves, which is a relevant creature type. It's not the most relevant, but just making those tokens is good. There's plenty of things for casting from exile in red-green, so like there's a lot of support to make that happen. It's just that the reward is not that good for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to build a very respectable board state, and it is telling you the commander is telling you, hey, I want to cast a lot of things from exile, so put a lot of ramp in your deck and give me card advantage effects.
Yeah.
Which is just good. So the
just
commander
kinda
itself,
gets there,
it's fine.
Right?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
We both think Duron is better, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but like,
for anybody who's
quite
interested in that, you got to go to the background section.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have our own backgrounds, and partners have their own tabs. So you can go and look through those and see which ones the ratings on those. Friends Forever also has its own thing, although we also... what's the functional Friends Forever thing? I don't know. If they make another variant, we'll just make another tab for it or put it in Friends Forever. And just try to figure it out, because that's getting more and more complicated as it goes with every month.
Yeah, I don't think there is a functional, but equivalent.
Yeah, we'll find out at some point. But thank you for the question, Mars.
Yeah.
Anyway, Emerald Affair, can we put ones on that?
Just one. Support is whatever.
Yes, I mean, the support's kind of there. It's technically like a 7. It's just... Yeah, you have some build flexibility, but the fact is the commander is so weak. Which I should say, support, flexibility, and power, these are not all equal. Fundamentally, the most powerful one is how strong is the commander on its own.
Yep.
And then support is the next most powerful thing. Flexibility is the weakest of these ratings. It almost doesn't affect the rating a lot of the time, but it is important to know about it because sometimes that's what tips the scale. Rarely does it pull back. It usually pushes forward, though. So with that covers all of our Azorius commanders from Lord of the Rings.
There's only a couple, right? I
think there's 4 or 5. And I don't think I did any of them already. The D&D Secret Lair. Did I not?
Probably did not get added because Jason hasn't put them on there yet.
Oh, that's my mistake then. I thought I did get them on there. Yeah, then I'll have to...
Beyond Omega.
That's true. I'll have to update it to add those ones in. We'll have to do a rating for them. My apologies, I didn't have that one ready to go. Which is good because I actually do really want to talk about Zinc. I think that's his name, right? The mono white auras you control have Exalted guy.
Yeah.
That deck's like sick. That's a really cool Azorius, or that's a really cool mono white deck. I think that one's really, really cool. And it's quite powerful. I don't think any of the other ones are particularly good though.
Alright. Grima.
Right, so Grima, Sauron's Footman. Alright. 4 mana 1/4, can't be blocked, and deals combat damage. You exile cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery. You may cast it without paying its mana cost, and the player puts the exile cards that weren't cast this way to the bottom of their deck in a random order.
This card's great.
That's quite good, actually. Self-contained. Isn't this just Chaos Wand?
Yeah.
Ah, neat.
Yep.
So Chaos Wand is a commander in blue-black.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Also, are his hands like massive compared to his head? Those body proportions look a little weird to me.
I don't know. Maybe. It might be.
That's neat. Okay then. What else are we doing with you?
Super well.
Yeah.
It just innately can't be blocked, which is always good.
Yeah. That's the nice part about it. The getting instants and sorceries from your opponent, so you kind of... I mean, I imagine a lot of people are doing, like, Talrand things. Yeah, Talrand's only in 36% of the decks. And granted, there's only 67 decks to work with.
Okay,
so
what are the 67 people that are actually playing this deck doing?
So the most played cards are Combat Research, which, yeah, that's fine by me. That makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Makes sense.
Then we have Tasha the Witch Queen in here, which, honestly...
sense if you're doing stuff from your opponent's decks.
Yeah, Memory Plunder, Swarm Intelligence, Mercurial Spelldancer, Thief Sanity, Rexiel, Slip Out the Back, Siphon Insight, Archmage Emeritus. Yeah, I mean, this is fine.
I think this is just better Tasha.
Better than Tasha, I will give you. We'll get to this in a moment, but I actually think Lord of the Nazgul is better for doing the whole just instants and sorceries thing.
Yeah, but like specifically the theft angle from your opponents, right?
Yeah, trying to rely on your opponent's instants and sorceries can be very good for you, but it can also be really bad for you because you just don't know what you're getting.
You could go against a mono green deck and get all of the drawing cards and ramp spells, which is amazing for you.
Yeah, after a certain point, the ramp spells stop being good, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, let's say your opponent's playing 5 of them, which is probably a pretty average to maybe a little bit of a conservative number on how many sorcery ramp spells your opponent's playing. By the time you swing with Grima, they've probably cast 1 to 2 of them. And you might hit a board wipe that you don't want to cast. You might hit a board wipe you do want to cast, though.
Mm-hmm.
Seems fine, but still seems a little below average to me.
It also is just exiled. So it is just removed from forever. So.
Well, hang on. So, you may cast it, then the player puts the exiled cards that weren't cast this way. Yeah, so if you don't cast it, it goes on the bottom.
Yeah, that's awful. That's not that great then. I read it completely wrong.
It'd also be kind of nice if it just exiled until, you hit the instant sorcery and it did the whole, new Atali thing, where those things are just gone forever.
Yep.
That would make Grima much better. In the meantime, though, this feels slightly below average. This feels like a 4 to me.
Seems about a 4.
Yeah, I feel like there's good control that you can get out of who you hit, but at the same time, green instant sorcery is not that great. White ones tend to be removal spells or protection spells. Blue ones can be all over the place. You don't want to hit counter spells.
Yeah.
Black ones are almost always removal or card draw. So black is probably your best person. If you're playing against a mono black opponent, you probably want to hit them.
And then red is rituals, but you're casting those in combat, which is not that great.
Well, red probably has the widest variety, because you get ramp spells, mass removal, card draw effects.
That's true.
Red rituals might be interesting. You probably want to target the red or black players at the table when you're playing with Grima.
Mm-hmm.
Support here. It's actually kind of just okay. Grima's very self-contained. You don't need literally anything to make Grima function.
Yep.
So the support doesn't matter that much. Which is why its power is kind of the more important thing. The flexibility, again, also, you can play a lot of things. It's actually... could you play anything you wanted in Grima?
Yes, and it would work. It would function, yeah.
Yeah, no, you can legitimately play anything you want in Grima. Because the support just does not matter that much.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, cool. Up 10 on support, buddy. Yes. I'll have to give us...
Put notes in later, Jason.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's so self-contained it doesn't matter much. Hey, Lord of the Nazgul.
Oh, hey. Speaking of Nazguls.
Alright, hot take.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what we put the rating for Talrand at, but it is the same as Talrand.
Yeah, no, it's literally just blue-black Talrand.
Mm-hmm.
It's slightly harder to cast because it's 1 extra mana.
Oh, look, click on the EDH rec real quick, because we gotta show people this.
Alright, let's see this. Alright, 2,669 decks, nice.
Now, just look at the new cards, Nazgul, right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
100% play rate.
Good job. Good job, everyone. We did it.
Just so everyone is aware, I think Sol Ring has a 93% play rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You never see a 100% play rate with anything.
Also, out of 2,000 decks is absurd.
Yeah. 2,600 decks, people decided, no, we're playing Nazguls.
And even
absolutely.
Then, if you were to be the one that makes the no Nazgul list, it probably would still say 100% because it's going to be 99.96 or whatever. Yeah. So it's practically 100.
Yeah, realistically, there's probably some number of people who are not playing Nazgul. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do a quick search. This is very easy to check. I want without Nazgul filter. How many decks do we have that? Okay, 300 of them, actually.
Yeah.
So the number, that's actually probably skewed. It's actually closer to 10% then. EDH Rec lies to us.
Good job, EDH Rec. It's still impressive. It's still impressive. That's literally Sol Ring levels of being played.
That's really cool, though. But anyway, for people who've seen Lord of the Nazgul decks or haven't seen them, it's just instant and sorcery stuff. You're just playing Talrand.
Mhm.
You're playing Talrand, you get some things that are wraiths in the deck.
You get Dark Ritual, which is great.
You do get... Yes, Dark Ritual is one of the best additions to the deck, plus also getting actual removal spells like Feed the Swarm and, well, quite frankly, any murder.
Mhm.
Any murder effect. But beyond that, yeah, blue-black creatures are actually weirdly not that good, so you don't really want to play that many more of them. You got Bowman if you want to play it, and you got Notion Thief, but like... Beyond that, black doesn't add that much.
You get Mirkwood Bats for your
Oh my
3/3s.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's
I
actually,
love Mirkwood.
It's actually not bad though.
It's not good though. It's really not great. Weirdly enough, though, I actually found Lord of the Nazgul when I was playing it to be about the same as Talrand, if not worse.
I think it's a little bit. It feels a little bit worse. I don't know why.
Yeah. Talrand just being 4 mana mattered so much versus being 5 mana.
And also like your 3/3s are just dudes on the ground, not 2/2 drakes with flying.
Yes, which is very relevant.
Yeah.
And also, I will also say that I found that the Nazguls, when I did play them, were not good. The Nazguls themselves are unfortunately quite bad.
Unfortunately, we're not playing like modern or historic, where they're awesome cards. But
good point, Just Desserts. If because there's multiple Nazguls in the deck, potentially EDH rec is reading that as multiple numbers. So it's like just counting. Yeah, because there's multiples. Maybe it's like, I don't know how EDH rec would be coding their thing, but if since there's usually only one of a single card in a deck, maybe that matters, but I don't know. That would be a little bit weird. Anyway, Lord of the Nazgul.
Kelvin says that they're personally attacked with how low Anawan is.
All right, we'll talk about Anawan. We'll talk about Anawan in a moment. But yeah, Lord of the Nazgul, 5, 6?
5s. Why don't we put Tolerant
Like
at?
5s?
Because it's like
We
slightly
put
worse.
Tolerant as a 6.
Yeah,
which-
5.
Tolerant is probably, maybe should be a 5, but Tolerant does feel pretty decent whenever you play it. Lord of the Nazgul, I don't know why. It just didn't feel better playing Lord of the Nazgul. So, go 5s.
Go 5s.
Do you want to split? Do you want to give it a optimized rating or no?
Nah.
Yeah, that's
really.
fine by me. It's got a lot of support, 9 or 10 on the support, probably 10.
Probably 10. You're just casting instant sorceries.
Yeah, and within that, you have a lot of flexibility as well, how you do that. So you can have 4 on the support, or the flexibility. I will put in the note that 100% play rate on Nazgul. Because that's just funny.
Yeah, because 300 decks would imply it'd have to be.
Something along those lines, yeah. Alright, we'll take a break because we're talking about Anawan Rune Thief. Why are you complaining? Anawan's a 6.
Yeah.
That's actually a solid rating for what Anawan's doing.
This card is like slightly above average.
Yeah.
It's not
Slightly above it.
not broken. Mill's just innately hard to do in Commander.
Yeah, just to read it off so people can see, like, this is a 4 mana 2/3 vampire rogue, gives all your rogues +1/+1, and whenever one or more rogues you control deal damage to a player, that player mills a card for each one of those damage that was dealt to them, and if the player mills at least one creature card this way, you draw a card. So you're not inherently guaranteed to draw a card, but this has the potential of doing the whole Timna thing where you attack 3 different opponents and draw 3 cards as a result of it. You have to have enough power, and you have to hit creatures, which is not too big of a problem because most people play between 22 and 30 creatures in their decks.
Yep.
So just causing an opponent to mill 3, let's say, because you hit them with a 2/2 base rogue, and then it's bumped up to a 3 because of Anawan. Yeah, you're more than likely going to draw a card for each player that you hit. You got to extend. And the awkward thing is you also... Small creatures that can't defend themselves. Most Anawan decks are not ending with a combo finish. They're, just rogues beats. So, yeah. This feels very, very fair for...
It's an extremely fair deck, but also it has a decent card advantage in them, so that's why it's a 6.
Yeah. So, Kellen, I'm going to issue you a bonk on this one. Sir, this is a very fair ranking. And this is a good ranking for what Ana 1 is doing. All right, let's jump over to a bad card.
Sharky.
Sharky.
Tyrant of the Shire.
Oh, Sauron, or Saruman, how you have fallen.
So this is awful, right?
Yes. Pretty much.
Okay, just can we call it a 1? Because you have to rely on your opponents having things.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the forced reliance on the opponent, and it's not very consistent. Like, okay, so shuts off fetch lands, great. Giving fetch land ability to your commander, not great. It's not the worst thing that could happen, because if it's gonna die, then sure, go fetch out an island, assuming someone has a polluted delta in play. And then activated abilities that aren't. So how often do we see our pods don't play that many utility lands?
Even like my high utility lands decks, I don't think that this is impactful. Like, a lot of them, you sacrifice the land, which means that you'd have to sacrifice Sharky, which then turns back on your opponent's lands. Yes,
which is not good.
Yeah.
You also don't have many ways of like giving abilities to your opponent's lands, right? So I am very curious then. Like, is there an ability that I'm not thinking of? And it only stops lands. So this is an important thing to note. If you have a land that has an activated ability in hand, you can still activate that ability. It's only stopping the things that are in play. So this isn't going to stop a Takenuma from getting a creature back. It's not going to stop an Otawara.
It's not stopping a Boseiju, right?
Right. Playing Realm Breaker in this deck to steal lands. Interesting.
Now, how much better would this card be if it didn't have the line except mana abilities?
Oh, well, that would be actual broken, because that means no land could do anything. Couldn't even tap for mana.
No, like activated abilities, lands can't be activated. So that's still the same on the second line of text.
You're saying give Sharky the mana abilities of your opponent's lands.
Yes.
Completely fine still.
Yeah.
This would go from a bad card to a average to maybe above average. If only Imprison the Moon didn't get rid of abilities. That's true. I guess if you could do something to turn your opponent's creatures into lands.
If the one person playing a Shia Soul of the Wild.
You made them so mad. I'm trying to think, because like the turning things into lands abilities, those are often a part of Green's color identity, so you don't get that here. Okay, so here's some weird enchantments people have. You enchant an opponent's land with an ability to draw and discard, or make it ping for something. You play like Underworld Connections.
It's still not good, though.
Yeah, that's not good, because you're putting it on your commander, and that's just not a great ability.
Like, I guess the argument is it a 0 or is it a 1, right?
It's probably just a 1.
Yeah.
It's not quite hurting you to play this commander. It's just, it just doesn't offer you anything. And the support's just not there. Like, flat out, it's not there. Is there flexible? Not really. You're not really flexible either. Maybe a 2? No, it's probably a 1 on the flexibility, right?
Probably a 1.
It's a really awkward commander.
It just doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Speaking of not doing that much.
Okay. I don't hate this commander, actually.
I don't hate it either, but it doesn't do that much.
That is correct. So, the Mouth of Sauron. It's a 5 mana 3/4 human advisor. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 3, and then you amass X, where X is the number of instants and sorceries in that player's graveyard. Realistically, you want to you want to target yourself every time.
Yes.
You just want to load up your graveyard with instants and sorceries.
You don't
so
want to give
ETB
your
mill 3.
opponent who's playing instant and sorceries their second hand.
But you would like to get your own second hand.
Yes.
So you play your flicker stuff, you play some amassing. I don't hate this commander, but it's certainly not good.
Yeah, it's also 5 mana, which is a lot.
5 mana is the big problem here.
If we were at 3 or 4 mana, we'd be talking, but...
Yes. That said, looking at what people are doing with it, political trickery to give cool lands without mana abilities to opponents, maybe. But there's very few lands that you want to play that don't have mana abilities. And if you're going to give it to your opponent, why would you not want it on your side to begin with? Right?
And
it's
also,
like, why give my opponent the Maze of Ith?
And also, Field of the Dead is not an activated ability, it's a triggered ability.
Yes. So it's like, it's real awkward to try to figure that out. So you can play all the amass stuff in here, which is cool. Like, you can play the zombie amass stuff, and this is not a terrible commander for it. Not great. Yeah, still not great. I'll give it a firm 2, maybe a 3. Yeah. I think it's better than Tasha, honestly.
I agree.
Or comparable to Tasha. So I'll give it a 3.
Give it a 3.
You can have your support. It's not good. Yeah, I'm almost about to copy Tasha over here, but actually, yeah, no, I'm actually just going to copy everything we put for Tasha because, weirdly enough, like, it's a different issue, but
it's a different issue, but kind of the same.
Yeah, just instants and sorceries, and then amassing, and that's what you get to pick between.
Rakdos.
All right. Apologies to everyone. I recorded a podcast before this, so we did talk about all the Balrogs.
Unfortunately.
Already. We can choose to talk about them here, though. But I have my Balrogs. They're already covered. And did I also go through and do the bad ones here? I don't think I did.
Are they Lord Balrog or?
No, they're all V.
Ah, that's why I was looking at the B's. I was like,
no, they're all in the T section. Do we want to actually get into it, or we want to actually talk about the Balrogs that we already rated?
Nah, let's just get into it.
Okay then.
You guys can listen to the podcast episode coming out in like a week or so.
Yeah, it'll be 10 days from today. So not this Wednesday, but the next. All right. Makur Urukai Captain.
Limited All-Star.
Absolute limited beast of a card, and even not terrible in the Sauron deck.
Yes.
Both of them, actually. It's just 2/2 with Menace, and if one or more counters would be put on an army, goblin, or orc you control, you put that mini +1 instead. Honestly, probably the best way to play this is goblins.
Yes. But you don't put a whole bunch of 1/1 counters on goblins. Something.
You sacrifice goblins.
Yeah.
When we play red-black, we don't want our goblins sticking around. We want them dying. So then this becomes about armies then, because the orcs are not very good.
No, Bowman's pretty good. Don't diss the orcs.
Yeah, but that's also an army. Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff here. It's honestly not the worst.
It's not terrible. How many decks does this even have? 76?
Yeah, 76. Yeah, it's a little low on decks, but I mean, for uncommon, not bad.
True.
Honestly.
You do just kind of have a lot of amass stuff. So...
Yeah, you get a lot of options on this. And yeah, looking at all of the army support that's been printed recently, maybe the army stuff is just better than the goblin stuff. Creature. Yeah, I mean, there's the command. I keep forgetting how many were put into the commander product as well. So
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of it now. It's just about making one big army. That said,
you make one massive army and then you Chandra's Ignition to kill everybody.
That does sound very fun and very reasonable. Like, not terrible. I'm somewhere between 3 and 5s at the moment. I'm leaning more towards 3 and maybe a 4.
I'm gonna lean on the 3 range.
Yeah, it's just it's missing so much support still.
Yeah. It's so close.
It's very self-contained. Yeah, it's actually like maybe we should be putting it at a 4, honestly.
Yeah, we can put it at a 4.
Like this is honestly not bad. This is quite good in how it's able to function. It just requires support, which is very lacking. It's like a 6 on its support, and it has no it is next to no flexibility.
You are playing armies, and you're gonna like it.
Yeah. So the only way this deck is going to improve is if its support gets better. Which I do actually expect to see some more armies coming up. Let's see, E30. I think I'm only gonna have time for me to go through Rakdos, and then probably talk a couple of more commanders if people want us to.
Yep.
And then that's gonna be all for me. Is that good with you?
That's good with me.
All right, so we got about another 30 minutes to go here. So yeah, if you have more commanders you want us to talk about, just send them our way. We will be sure to check the comments and see what people think. But let's jump on to Sauron the Lidless Eye.
The Lidless Eye.
Mm-hmm. All right. I do not like the Sauron,
I don't either.
but
It's
It
active
is.
trees. It's
yeah,
no, sorry.
5 mana ETB active treason,
Yeah.
and then 3 mana creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Each opponent loses 2 life. All right. The important thing here is we do have an infinite mana sink to just win the game.
Mm-hmm.
That said,
It's enter the battlefield is not that insane, and
no, it's really not.
Rakdos is not the easiest color pairing to get infinite mana in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also sitting here thinking about like Perforos, right? Where Perforos has an activated ability that's similar to this, but it only gives +1.
Mm-hmm.
But you only need red mana. And I pretty rarely activate Perforos's ability whenever I've played Perforos.
Yeah.
That came up recently, but it's very rare that I do it, and I didn't win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
+2/+0 is a big pump. Like,
Yeah, it's a pretty sizable bump.
it's just you need 1 in Rakdos. 3
Mhm.
mana to do this, requiring 2 different color pips is not that good.
Yeah, plus we're basically just playing Rakdos Sack here.
Mm-hmm.
We're just playing Rakdos Sack, where the goal is to sacrifice your opponent's creature. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Which means we want to try to replay our Sauron multiple times.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. Ooh. Alright. 23% playing World Gorger Dragon, so people have caught on to the infinite mana outlets. Not enough that it's going to change the rating, because that's not very common that you're going to run into that, but then again, there's only 100 of this deck. You're not going to see it very often.
Yeah. If people are going to play Sauron, they're going to play the giant one or the good one.
Yeah, either the Grixis ones, even the mono black one's not the worst.
Yeah.
I do think this is the worst of the Saurons, but it does have the infinite mana sink, which we'll probably need to give a rating for optimized here. It's only going to go up by 1 point, I think, though.
So a 4-5 split then?
Oh, we're going to the 4? I don't even think that's good. I think it's a 3.
Okay. 3-4 split it is.
Yeah, 3-4 split seems appropriate for this.
Mm-hmm.
Support, it's Rakdos Sack, infinite mana, it's about a 9, maybe a 10 on the support.
It could be way better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm actually the most disappointed by the Sauron.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little rough. Oh, nice to see that we got a lot of people actually looking at this time. Yeah, I like the other Saurons. The Grixis Saurons are like both really cool. Even the 8 mana one that's hard to cast, like it's still quite good. This is one of my favorite cards out of this new set, actually.
I love this card.
Shagrat.
Yeah.
Shagrat Loot Bearer. 4 mana 4/4 Orc Soldier. Whenever it attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment to it. Then amass X, where X is the number of, or mass Orcs X, where X is the number of equipment attached to it. That does not have to be your equipment.
Mar, we will go over King of the Oathbreakers after this.
Absolutely. So this is Rakdos equipment, which is relatively unique.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next closest thing we have to a Rakdos equipment commander is like Greven.
I think it's Greven. That would be the only one.
Yeah. Really cool. It's a little disappointing because Black doesn't have much equipment support, like nearly at all, and Red's equipment support is actually just quite weak as well.
Mm-hmm.
White really is what carries all these Boros equipment decks. That said, of our 162 decks that we have for this fine gentleman, I see the punchies, I see some good equipment.
Yeah.
You do get to equip Colossus Hammer for free, so that's good. Lizard Blades, Bloodforged Battle Axe, that works fine. You only get one equipment at a time, right?
Yeah, it's only one.
That's okay. There's plenty of equipment that equip for 1 and 0. This feels pretty average to me.
Yeah. Maybe a little, just because Red and Black's like equipment synergies are so not good.
Mm-hmm.
And also your payoff is only just a giant orc.
Well, two giant orcs, right? Because obviously Shagrat's getting huge.
Yeah, but...
and then the equipment is giving you the orc that you can equip something else onto if you need to. You know, that a mass army is going to get pretty large after a while. And this works with extra combat steps too.
That's true. Yeah, I could see it. I could see like a 4-5. Like slightly below.
Slightly below average, and then to average when you optimize it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there is actually an optimized rating here. It may just be a 4 then. I do like a 5 for it. Chat, let us know what you think on this one. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the 4 for the time being, but I do kind of want to revisit it. I might build that deck to test it out at some point.
It's close. It is close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, there's one other equipment commander. It's Flame War. I forgot about Flame War.
Oh, and to also preface this, because it was not stated earlier, we do not have half numbers, fractions, or anything. It is whole numbers. So even if we're saying, like, it's close to a 5, if it's not a 5, it's not a 5, right?
Yeah.
It can't be a 4.5 or...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Support, I'll give it a 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the support's... It's missing support, but it's pretty good. It is really inflexible, though. Like, it's a 1 on its flexibility. It has one deck. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will go ahead and make the note of... Maybe 5, need a test. Very quick note. Alright, so we need to go to... Off to King of the Oathbreakers. Okay, King of the Oathbreakers.
This card is weird.
It's very weird, it's very clunky, but does some cool stuff. So we have a 4 mana 3/3 Spirit Noble flying. Whenever it or another spirit you control becomes a target of a spell, it phases out.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever King of the Oathbreaker or another spirit you control phases in, create a tapped 1/1 spirit with flying. The board can get pretty wide pretty quickly with this.
Yes.
King of the Oathbreakers.
That being said, you get hosed by every single board wipe because it doesn't face your stuff out.
Yeah.
So
board wipes are really tough for you to deal with. The good news is that you can, and this is probably the most powerful effect of King of the Oathbreakers, is being able to turn removal spells into protection spells.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a random Fatal Push now saves your commander. And that's really good. Like, I can't emphasize enough how powerful that actually is. You can turn very useless spells into something quite good. That said, other targeting effects that you may want to do, like auras, do not work.
So when does phase in happen? Is it before untap or after untap?
Before untap. Phasing in just kind of happens at the beginning of the turn. There's no priority that happens as a result of this.
So they do actually untap, which is weird.
Yes, they will untap. Additionally, for what it's worth, King of the Oathbreakers is making a trigger for whenever something does phase in. That trigger will not go off until the upkeep.
Yes.
Just so relevant.
They don't untap.
Yeah, the tokens that you make will not untap. Very important.
Let me check something. This is important.
Yeah.
See if I need to publicly call out somebody.
Oh, did Cameron mess up?
I'm gonna check.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think he was okay.
Okay. Yeah, the tokens that you create won't immediately untap. Also, V. I know it's the face, but V. Yes, Denahair is that bad.
Yes.
We will talk. We can talk about Denahair in a moment because that's an interesting one to talk about why it is so bad. So, King of the Oathbreakers, I feel like is a subpar deck, like a 4, but a subpar deck because it's still just spirits and it does have unique things that it's doing. But unique does not mean good.
And unfortunately, you lose access to all the blue spirits, which
is actually a huge deal. Yeah, the white spirits are actually pretty good, right? Like just being able to play Selfless Spirit and Skyclave Apparition makes me very happy to see.
It also Drum Bellower and
yeah, there's some good ones you get to play, but the black spirits are not particularly good, and the blue ones are fantastic. So it's kind of rough. That said, yeah, I think would it be fair to just call this a 4 and leave it at that?
4 and leave it at that. Sounds good.
Seems good to me. The support's pretty high up there, about an 8 on the support. Flexibility is not good. There's some flexibility, but not a lot. Okay. Let's jump over to talking about Denahair in Jeskai. Okay. So, Denahair absolutely deserves her ones, and I will explain why. So, Denahair is a 4-mana 4/4 human wizard with haste. You may activate abilities of other creatures you control as though they had haste. So this is 1,000-year elixir text. And then the last one is you can tap Denahair to activate an activated ability. The next time you activate an ability this turn, by spending 4 or more mana on it, copy that ability, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Okay. Let's explain why this is so bad, and why we couldn't have just done some other text to make this card actually redeemable. First of all, we have a 4-mana 4/4 with haste. That's fine, not amazing. That alone is enough to get a commander to a 1. But that's really... it barely gets to a 1, but that's not really enough here. Activated abilities as though they have haste for your creatures. Okay, solid. We are in red. Why can't we just give haste?
Yeah.
Like, why are we being forced to wait on these activated abilities to give haste?
We've got some pretty decent activated abilities. It's just...
Yeah. And and then the thing on that, though, is Denahair doesn't really make those activated abilities better. It just makes them come down sooner. Like, you can just play Denahair and do that, but you could also just, play your spells and not play the Denahair. Then the other part of this is, and this is the big thing, and why we have to actually detract points from Denahair, is because of this tap ability of hers, where it wants you to pay 4 mana on activated abilities. The number of 4 mana activated abilities in this game is surprisingly low, and they are generally pretty bad. Now, granted, we've had some new ones printed since we did this evaluation, like
Queen
Ortheon, Hero of Lavabrink is a new one, but that's also
Kala?
9 mana.
Right.
Queen Kala is also a new one. That is the big one that I would talk about.
Yeah.
Is, being able to activate this wheel twice in a turn is pretty potent. That said, it's also not that good.
Yeah, if you look, other than these like standout high synergy cards, chat, that I'm showing on stream right now, all the rest of these kind of suck.
Yeah, like if you go to the top card section, for example, it wants you to play Wand of Wonder as one of your cards. Like this is a card that's in 72% of decks. Wand of Wonder is a bad card in top cards. You gotta scroll down.
Yeah.
But Wand of Wonder is just bad. Like, this is just not a very good card at all. Chaos Wand is not a particularly great card. It's a fun card, but it's not great, right? Lithoform Engine, you only get to do this 4 mana activated ability if you have to have a permanent spell, meaning you've cast something else, which means this is more than 4 mana for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of mana to be able to do something with it. And then you go to these other synergy effects, and they're like, oh, look at all this mana we can spend to untap the commander and do this again. And it's like, yeah, but why would I want to untap my commander in this situation? That's a whole lot of mana for very little reward.
Yep.
Again, some of the other cards like Tameshi has been printed since we did this evaluation. Or, actually, no. Tameshi had been around, but Tameshi wasn't very good. It's still not very good. That one might be worth copying, though. And then you have Time Stream Navigator. Time Stream Navigator was like the big thing you want to copy, but you can just read this like a book. Like, it's so predictable how this deck's going to function, and she's just so weak overall. Like, she could be so much better by just changing it to creatures you control have haste.
But instead, it's just 1,000-year elixir, which is infinitely worse.
Yeah.
So
we could be doing so much better than what this is doing. And talking about it a little more, I am thinking about like specifically Caleb and Krug here, and now have Omen Hawker as a card to talk about, because Omen Hawker really improves this deck a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe that change it gets up to a 2, but honestly, that is yet to be seen for me.
Yeah, I have to see it in action in order to have this be better.
Yeah. Additionally, I will also give that we have I can't remember his name, but there's a new legendary creature in the set that untaps 2 other target legendary permanents.
Right here in the new cards.
New card section, what's his name?
The Healing House.
Yeah. Yoreth.
Yep.
She, them, I don't know. This card also potentially changes how this commander functions, because this gives you some options for doing some really big turns with Din Hair if you are going to be copying an activated ability that's very impactful for 4 mana. Yeah, being able to do it like 6 times is something I care about. Some of these other cards, like, we're playing Arcanacy Omnipotent in the deck.
Yeah.
Emery,
Eh.
I think you can do better. And yeah, actually, the Urza Prince of Krug is also something that's interesting to consider here. So yeah, maybe there may be an argument that this is 2 now, but at the same time, Din Hair bad. Like,
we're arguing
really
between extremely bad and like bad.
Yeah, yeah. The how far down we're going here is like, damn, does this really deserve to be a 1? And the answer is like, is it really worth the argument of making it a 2? But
yeah.
No, I'll give you that. It maybe needs to be a 2. I would like to see it in action, but I tried brewing Din Hair and was floundered by how terrible the deck was anytime I played it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's go and finish off our Rakdos stuff, because we only have 15 more minutes. No, we only have 1 more Rakdos commander, so we probably have 1 more we can talk about if somebody wants us to, but I'll be the last of it.
Yeah, because this one's not going to take that long.
Yeah, Ugluk's not that good. Ugluk of the White Hand, 4 mana 3/3 Orc Soldier. Whenever another creature you control dies, you can put a 1/1 counter on Ugluk of the White Hand. If that creature was a goblin or an orc, put 2 counters on it instead. So let's do goblins and let's do sacrifice to make 1 very large orc.
40 decks, by the way, everybody. 40 decks.
40 decks.
That should tell you how not great this card is.
Yeah, I am happy that Gorbag is actually good in this deck, because I do like Gorbag's design, but Gorbag is not good, is the issue. And yeah, it seems like most people have caught on. You just play this as Goblin Sacrifice, and
this is just Rakdos Goblins.
Yeah, and I would be willing to go ahead and give this thing a really high support rating just because goblins. Like
10.
I'll drop it a 9. Yeah, no, I'll just give it a 10. I mean, the Goblin Sacrifice stuff is that good. And this commander though is bad. Like, its inherent power level is a 2 itself.
It's just bad.
The flexibility gets okay, like a 2 or 3, because it can play with some flexibility within the goblins and the sacrifice shell, how deep you want to go between 1 or 2 of them. But the final ranking on this card is probably still a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely the support that's carrying it. Almost to the point that I want to give this thing its own power of 1. Because like it is 100% the support that is making this card good. Because otherwise we just have a thing that gets bigger occasionally.
That's true.
But maybe it's still
just give
probably
it a
2 though, right?
Give it a 1.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't do anything on its own. Like in a vacuum, it literally does nothing.
Yeah, it's just, what is that? Hill Giant?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a Hill Giant without much going on. Even if another thing you control dies. And to be fair, it doesn't have to be goblins to get bigger, but it's 2 counters with the goblins. I'll give it the credit there. Yeah, it does deserve that too. Then.
All right, chat. We have time for one more commander.
Mm-hmm. If anybody has a commander you would like us to talk about, we will go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we are actually done for the day.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much more, and I have to go to bed because I have important work tomorrow. So
he says important work.
more so work that I can't actually be like 5 minutes late to, because if I'm 5 minutes late to it, I get in trouble like real bad on this one. Yeah, they got me coming in early. It's okay. I get comp time.
Okay, then you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, I definitely. Thank you again to whoever spotted that I missed out on the that D&D secret lair, because I do need to go in and add them in. That is completely my mistake. Because
Lady Orca.
All right.
Sure.
So here she is in all of her glory.
Let's find her.
Lady Orca.
0s across the board.
We have 0s across the board, and this is where we need to get into how the scale functions again. A 0 is it actively hurts you, can't be beneficial, or offers next to nothing to build around. A vanilla creatures.
Hey, guess what Lady Orca is?
Yeah, a vanilla creature unfortunately will just fall as a 0.
Yep.
Or a French vanilla creature also will often fall into this. I think we have Ilson Shade in here as a 0 as well, and that's just because it's a 6 mana 5/6 or 6 mana 6/5 protection from white, and that's its only ability.
Yeah.
That's not enough to build a deck around.
Also, if we were evaluating this just on raw card strength, 7 mana 7/4s are not at all what I want to be casting, and especially when they don't have lines of text on them, besides this amazing flavor text that Andy reads every time that he plays a deck.
Absolutely. 10 out of 10 on the flavor text there, or a high rank on that flavor text. Saw some Florian. Love to talk about Florian. I'll get to that. But in the end, Lady Orca just unfortunately doesn't offer enough of a build around. So it ends up being a 0. Yeah, if you wanted to give an evaluation of just where would a 7 mana 7/4 fall without the existence of the 0 ranking, it would be a 1. Just because that doesn't do anything, really. Like, there's no gotcha, there's no interesting things. You gotta rely on a lot of your support to try to make anything happen. So it just ends up not being relevant.
Yeah, if we want to see the good Lady Orca, which is, I say good in quotation marks, it's still only a 2.
Yeah, Orca Siege Demon? Yeah, we still have her as a 2. Maybe could justify higher, but it's hard to justify higher on what she does, right? Like, we just had another thing that whenever another creature dies, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and we're like, that's not very good.
Yeah.
But once she gets answered. What is our... Hypothetically, if Iona was unbanned, Iona as a commander is not very good.
Did I remove the meme that we had on there? Oh, no, we didn't. This is our thoughts on it. A frown. This card shouldn't be banned. It's
fine. I'm a big supporter of freeing Iona. I don't think this card ever should have been banned, but I understand the logic behind it. I just disagree with it. Yeah. And if Iona was a commander, it'd probably be a 3.
Yeah, it doesn't do that much.
Yeah, really powerful once you get to it, but good luck ramping into that in mono white. Yep. Like, you were playing so many things, and you can shut down exactly one player and then get hated out of the game for making that one player suffer. Like, it's just not good, honestly. But that's but it's banned because of its effect in the 99, not for being a commander. All right, so Florian.
Where is Florian at? He's somewhere in here. There he is.
So Florian, 7 for normal, 8 for optimized, 7 for support, 2 for flexibility, 8 for power. Honestly, I am tempted to bring up this rating by 1 point.
Yeah, he can go to an 8.
I will give him the 8-9 split because Florian is still held back by his color support. Because the ways of doing this, the burn that you need to go really deep in your deck is a little bit difficult still. That said, God, Florian's good.
Yeah,
I love this stupid thing.
You just dig so deep.
Yeah. Like, again, reminder, we do not consider cEDH for the rate of the scale. But the cEDH build of Florian, which is a very real cEDH deck, like, it plays many of the cards that the normal builds of Florian just play. Just some burn spell, like a couple of burn spells, ways of consistently dealing damage, and it just tries to assemble these 2-card combos that are very, very potent. Like, it's going to play cards like Flame Rift to just deal 4 damage to each player, because going 12 deep in your deck for 2 mana is so good. It's almost a tutor. Do we have Grand Arbiter Augustine IV? Yes, we have anything that is not from the... if it's not from Lord of the Rings or the D&D Secret Lair specifically, or the new commanders coming from Commander Masters, because we haven't even put them on the scale yet.
Yeah, they'll be added once we see what else is in the precons. So
yeah, I hold off until everything has been spoiled. That is when I update or start updating the scale, because I tried doing each commander every time it came out, but the fact is Scryfall is... We always link Scryfall in here, and if Scryfall isn't updated, it's not going onto the list yet.
Yep.
And similarly, if EDH Rec doesn't have any information for us to work with, then it's really hard to do a good evaluation, because then we have to really like dig in deep and really evaluate it on our own. Like let other people find the things, and then we can go, yeah, is that synergy that good? Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, Florian's just good. The things that suck about it, though, are just playing these 1/1 pingers that don't do a lot.
But we like seeing Dragon's approaches.
Oh
yeah, baby.
I'm a sucker for some Dragon approach, but I will still state that that Dragon's approach is still not the best build for Florian, but that's a solid build. I like it. My heart goes out to Florian. All right, very quickly, we'll talk about Grand Arbiter Augustine IV, and that'll be the last thing we talk about for today.
Yep.
So, Grand Arbiter Augustine IV.
8 on the normal, 10 on the optimized, 10 on the support, 10 on the flexibility, 8 on the power, and no, we don't have any notes on this.
No, we don't have to do many notes on it.
Card is just good.
Yeah, card is great. It's a really powerful commander, and it's very easy to get it online and staxing your opponent out of the game very quickly. Plus, the cost reduction matters a lot. Oolong, Najeela has straight 10s across the board.
Yep.
Like, literally has straight 10s across the board, because you can... anything you want to do with Najeela can be supported. Najeela just only asks you to play 1 or 2 cards, and even then, you can actually just win games with just playing Najeela. Straight up just resolve Najeela and then use activated abilities, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else.
I've won games of cEDH just playing Najeela. Like, she's good enough to do it.
Yeah, and if she's competing, it's, spell-based combos that are ending on turn 3, games ending on turn 3, like, that tells you how good Najeela is. But Grand Arbiter Augustine IV, Grand Arbiter has gotten worse over the years to the point that the optimized build maybe isn't a 10, but considering that we're talking about for casual commander, not cEDH, Grand Arbiter Augustine IV is still just excellent.
Yes.
Like, you can do anything you want with the deck so long as you're playing blue and white spells. And the deck just supports you. It supports you in the taxing. It supports you on the providing high impact spells that you want to cast. You want to play Persistent Petitioner's Mill? Absolutely, you can do that. You want to play humans? You can play humans.
Yeah, so the secret tech is you play Heuristic Study, and now your opponent's spells actually cost 2 more to cast.
Right. Once you just start taxing your opponent hard enough, it is just it's abysmal to get around to Grand Arbiter Augustine IV when it comes down early. That said, if Grand Arbiter doesn't come down early, it's a very manageable game, but it's still very powerful.
Yeah, it's good. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's so generically good that there's not that much to say about it, right?
Yeah. I did just see another ranking. We have Afara here at 7, and I might not bump that down to a 6, but Afara is quite good.
Oh, Afara? I thought you said the Thar, and I was like...
No. The Tharman? No, Tharman's at 6s already. I checked that earlier today.
Best stacks piece in the game, baby. Yeah, Afara can probably go down.
Do we want to leave it for people to discuss, to see how they feel about it?
We'll leave it.
Because certainly, reminder to everyone here, because what did Kenan do? I think Kenan's a 10.
Let me look. I'll check real quick. Jason, you go.
Nah, Kenan's a 10.
Okay.
He's a 10. Yeah, so for everyone, just a reminder, on our Discord, we have introduced a new chat, which is, that is the Zur Scale. And you can go, we're going to be having it just there. I really actually, I seriously want feedback on this because, my thoughts on this scale is it's pretty good. I think the flexibility ranking probably needs a little bit more work and more defining as to make it a more impactful part of the scale for it to really be worth it. Additionally, flexibility has most of the decks in the 2 to 3 range, which feels a little disingenuous for what the decks actually can do with their flexibility.
It's just when we go and look at deck stats on EDH rec, you mainly only see one set of builds for a lot of decks. So that's where that flexibility is so low on a lot of things. It's just because that's the data we see, right?
Yeah, it's the data that we see, and there's more information that we would like. And you guys may know something that we don't know, because like hell, I know how to build 1,800 different commanders. Some of you guys are going to be much better experts on decks than I am, and we seriously appreciate that input when you guys can tell us what is good and what is not good to push back on what we're talking about. Because if you genuinely think using the rating scale that exists, that a commander should be rated highly or rated worse than what it is, we want to know.
Yep.
So yeah, use the link there, join the Discord, talk with us about it. I seriously would love to discuss with you about a lot of these commanders.
Yeah, tell us why we're wrong, honestly. That's the one thing me and Jason want to hear, is that we're wrong on something, because we want to see the spice.
Yeah, we want to know what we missed that makes a commander better than what we think it is. Additionally, I am planning on posting this on Reddit and putting it to the larger community relatively soon. Having a more refined scale before I do that, yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate it if you could tell me. So, don't be afraid to fight me in the comment section. We really appreciate it.
Also for Kelvin, I'm showing just the introduction page. So...
yeah, Zur has so much flexibility in how it's built, and Zur is not the most powerful commander. Obviously, there are other commanders that could be the name of this, but when this scale was actually initially created, some of the more powerful commanders hadn't been printed yet, like Najeela didn't exist. And Zur does no power, yes, guys. Yep. But it's very easy to have an extreme flexibility and have a functional deck built around any sort of secret commander, any enchantment that you want to build around in your deck. And just a card like Necropotence breaks it in half. So it's very easy. All right. With that, that's all I got to say. Matt, do you have anything you want to add?
I'm going to go ahead and pop us over to ending.
Yeah,
no. That's pretty much the Zur Scale, guys. Me and Jason spent amount of hours on this.
Oh yeah, okay, so this is something in the podcast, but I'll share it anyway. So the Zur Scale, we have been working on this for over a year at this point, and there was a point in one of the podcast episodes where we were saying like, yeah, I think we'll have it done in July of last year. So like it just, the more content that comes out, the more work we've had to put into it. You know, with 1,800 commanders to potentially to evaluate, if we gave just 5 minutes to each of those commanders, that would take, 9,000 minutes, which is almost equivalent to 4 work weeks.
Yeah.
And doing that while still creating other content, that's the reason why this took so long to get here. So we were wanting to have it done almost last year, but like, no, it wasn't able to do it. Plus you have to have multiple people to evaluate this. You can't have one person just going through and saying like, oh yeah, it's easy. It's all these things. Somebody needs to fact check you and say like, no, you're wrong about this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it took a long time to get to this point, and we're very glad that it's here. And there's one more leg of the race before it's going to go like completely public here.
Yep.
So again, thank you all very much. We appreciate you. Check out the podcast. Check out the edited gameplay videos on this channel. We'll have more stuff coming for you soon.
Also, remember, if you enjoyed the stream, like the stream, share it with everybody, get the word out on the Zur Scale.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, please do share this with people. That'd be really great. We really do want a whole lot of feedback on it. Yeah, thank you, Along. We appreciate you. But yeah, but that's pretty much everything I got. The only thing I'm going to add in there is something that I'm forgetting that I should be. Oh yeah, the giveaway for the winner. The giveaway. The person who we initially announced as the winner did not respond in time, so we have picked another winner for the giveaway. So if you participated in our giveaway, please check your email. It could be you.
Since I wasn't allowed to, unfortunately.
Yes, channel members weren't allowed to do it. Anyway, thank you all very much. Y'all have a nice night.